Let me tell you about two coworkers. Same company, same salary, same 401k options sitting right there in their HR portal. Marcus opened his account the first week he got hired. He picked VTI, a single ETF, set up $200 a month to auto-invest. And then basically forgot about it. He doesn't read earnings reports. He doesn't watch CNBC. He checks his balance maybe twice a year. His coworker Derek spent 6 months researching individual stocks before he felt ready to invest. He bought 12 different companies. He reads the news every morning, adjusts his portfolio when things get scary, and has moved to cash 3 times in the last 4 years because he was waiting for a better entry point. Marcus is quietly on track to retire at 58. Derek is still breaking even. The difference isn't intelligence, it isn't income, it isn't luck, it's that Marcus understood one thing Derek didn't. The most powerful wealth building tool available to ordinary Americans isn't a stock tip or a hot sector fund. It's a boring, low cost, set it and forget it ETF. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works and how to use it. My name is Ben, and I dive deep into personal growth topics like financial strategies, money psychology, and why some glide to riches effortlessly, while others stay trapped in financial ruts. If you're ready for real wealth building tactics in your self-betterment path, without counting on luck, smash that subscribe button. And drop a like if this shifts your view on finances and evolution. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. That name is technically accurate and practically useless. So let me give you the version that actually makes sense. An ETF is a basket. Inside that basket is a collection of assets, usually stocks, sometimes bonds, sometimes commodities. When you buy one share of an ETF, you're buying a proportional slice of that entire basket at once. The most important example, an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is an index of the 500 largest publicly traded companies in America: Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, J.P. Morgan, Procter & Gamble. When you buy VOO or SPY, you own a tiny piece of all 500 of them simultaneously, in one purchase, for the price of a single share. If the S&P 500 goes up 8% this year, your ETF goes up roughly 8%. If it drops 15%, your ETF drops roughly 15%. You're not picking winners. You're not trying to be smarter than the market. You're betting that the collective output of the 500 largest American companies will be higher in 20 years than it is today. Historically, that's been a very reliable bet. Now think about what it would take to replicate that on your own. You'd need to research 500 companies, buy shares in each one, rebalance constantly as their weights shift. You'd need hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get started. ETFs compress all of that into a single transaction. That's the whole idea. There are over 4,000 ETFs available in the US market. Most of them you should never touch. Here are the 3 numbers that tell you whether an ETF is worth your money. Number 1. Expense ratio. This is the annual fee the fund charges. Expressed as a percentage of your investment, it comes out quietly, automatically, every year. You'll never write a check, but you'll feel it over decades. VOO, Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, charges 0.03% per year. On a $10,000 investment, that's $3 per year. $3. Compare that to the average actively managed mutual fund, which charges around 1% annually. Same $10,000, same market returns, but that 0.97% difference, compounded over 30 years, quietly costs you around $90,000 in lost growth. Marcus pays $3 a year in fees. Derek's mutual fund charges him $180 on the same balance. Derek doesn't feel it month to month, but he will. Number 2. Tracking error. Every ETF promises to follow an index. Tracking error measures how well it actually keeps that promise. If the S&P 500 returns 9% this year and your ETF returns 8.6%, your tracking error is 0.4%. The big, established funds, VOO, VTI, QQQ, have tracking errors close to 0. Niche or newer ETFs can drift significantly. Smaller is always better here. Number 3. AUM, assets under management. This is the total dollars sitting inside the fund. VOO recently crossed $600 billion, making it the largest ETF on Earth. Size matters for 2 reasons. First, larger funds have lower operating costs per investor. which helps keep the expense ratio low. Second, a massive fund isn't going anywhere, it won't be shut down. It won't have liquidity problems. And it trades at extremely tight spreads, meaning you lose almost nothing in the gap between buying and selling. Small, niche ETFs sometimes shut down with little warning and force a taxable event. Stick with the giants when you're starting out. Here's how to navigate the 4,000 ETF supermarket without buying anything that will hurt you. The core aisle, broad market ETFs. VTI is the most comprehensive option. It tracks the entire US stock market, about 3,800 companies from mega caps down to small caps. If the American economy grows over the next 30 years, VTI captures that growth. This is Marcus's fund. VU tracks the S&P 500, more concentrated than VTI, just the top 500, but those 500 companies generate the majority of economic output anyway. The two overlap heavily, either one works. QQQ tracks the NASDAQ 100, which skews heavily toward technology and growth companies. Higher historical returns than the S&P 500, but steeper drops during downturns. Not wrong, just a different risk profile. Derek owns this one and checks it every morning, which is part of his problem. For international exposure, VXUS covers essentially every publicly traded company outside the US. Pairing VTI with VXUS means you own the global economy. The income section, dividend ETFs. SCHD focuses on high-quality US companies with consistent dividend growth, not just the highest yields, but companies that have demonstrated the ability to sustain and grow payouts over time. For investors who want their portfolio to generate regular income while they hold it, SCHD earns its reputation. Bonds, when you need them. BND covers the entire US investment-grade bond market. If you're young with a 30-year horizon, you probably don't need much bond exposure yet. But as you approach a financial goal, shifting money into bonds reduces the volatility risk of a sudden market drop wiping out money you need soon. The back of the store, do not enter without a guide. Leveraged ETFs use derivatives to amplify daily returns 2 times or 3 times. Daily, not annual, due to daily rebalancing. These instruments decay over time in ways that aren't obvious and destroy long-term wealth even in flat markets. Inverse ETFs, single stock ETFs, structured note ETFs. These are tools for institutional traders with specific short-term strategies. They are not wealth-building instruments for anyone in this video's audience. This is the part most beginner ETF videos skip. It might be the most important. ETFs are structurally more tax efficient than mutual funds, not because of a loophole, but because of a mechanism baked into how they're built. Here's the problem with mutual funds. When other investors redeem their shares, the fund has to sell stocks to raise cash. Selling stocks triggers capital gains. Those capital gains get distributed to every shareholder at year-end, including you. Even if you never sold anything and your account is actually down on the year. In 2024, 64% of U.S. equity mutual funds distributed capital gains to shareholders. You can owe taxes on an investment that lost money. That's not hypothetical, it happens regularly. ETFs solve this through in-kind redemption. When large financial institutions want to exit an ETF, they don't sell, they exchange their ETF shares for the underlying basket of stocks directly. No cash, no sale, no taxable event for you. The result? With ETFs, you control when you realize gains. Marcus sells when he decides to sell, not because a stranger redeemed their shares on the other side of the fund. Layer on the long-term capital gains rate. Hold any ETF for more than a year and you pay 0%, 15%, or 20% on gains depending on your income. Most Americans fall in the 15% bracket. That's significantly lower than the ordinary income rates that apply to short-term trades. And inside a Roth IRA, everything compounds tax-free. Every dollar of growth, every dividend reinvested, every gain realized, zero tax at withdrawal. That's the system working exactly as designed. Let me be concrete about what Marcus did, and what Derek still hasn't. Step 1. Open the right account first. If your employer offers a 401k with a match, contribute at least enough to get the full match before you do anything else. A 50% employer match is an instant 50% return before the market moves a single point. There is no ETF on earth that can compete with that. After that, Open a Roth IRA. Fidelity, Vanguard, or Charles Schwab all offer commission-free ETF trading. Fractional shares starting at $1. And no account minimums. Marcus uses Fidelity. He set it up in about 20 minutes on a Sunday afternoon. Step 2. Keep it simple. Marcus owns 2 ETFs. That's it. 70% VTI, 30% VXUS. US Market Plus International. Automatically rebalanced once a year. He's done more wealth building with that 2-fund portfolio than Derek has done with 12 individual stocks. 3 sector ETFs. And a podcast habit. If you want bonds, 60% VTI, 20% VXUS, 20% BND. That's the 3-fund portfolio. It's been around for decades. It works. Step 3. Automate and ignore. Set a fixed monthly contribution and automate it. $200, $500, whatever your budget allows. When the market drops, and it will drop, your fixed contribution buys more shares at a lower price. You're not losing money during downturns. You're buying the same companies at a discount. This is where Derek keeps losing. He paused contributions in March 2020 because the market felt terrifying. He missed the fastest recovery in market history. He bought back in near the top. He's done this 3 times now. The mistakes that cost people real money. Chasing last year's hot ETF. Top performers rotate. The sector that returned 40% last year often returns negative 20% the next. Trying to time the market. Morningstar has tracked investor behavior for decades. The average investor consistently underperforms the funds they invest in, not because the funds are bad, but because people buy high and sell low, automatically. The market rewards patience more reliably than it rewards intelligence. Marcus and Derek will both work until they're in their late 50s. But Marcus will have a choice at 58. Derek probably won't. The difference between them isn't the stock market. The market gave them the exact same returns on the same investments over the same period. The difference is costs. Marcus pays almost nothing in fees. Derek pays more than he realizes. The difference is taxes. Marcus controls when he realizes gains. Derek gets distributions he didn't choose. And the difference is behavior. Marcus automated his investing and stopped watching. Derek watches every day and keeps making expensive adjustments. ETFs didn't make Marcus rich. They just removed every structural obstacle between him and letting compound interest do its job. That's the whole thing. That's the entire secret. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, commission-free, fractional shares, no account minimum. There is no barrier left except the decision to start. If this helped, subscribe, and I'll keep making the math that actually matters simple.